G'day everyone, my name's Fred Nucifora and I work for the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. It's a pleasure to be with you today as part of this Citizens of the Great Barrier Reef question and answer session. Before we start today, I would like to formally acknowledge the traditional owners of the Great Barrier Reef, their elders past, present and emerging, as the holders of their storylines, their customs and their aspirations for the future. And I'd also like to acknowledge First Nations people from wherever you are today and tuning into this Q&A session. So we've got a few questions I'm going to answer for you today. They've come from all over the place, but I'll do my best to answer them, and you can always follow up with the Citizens of the Great Barrier Reef team after this, and we can provide you with some more information if you like. So first question today comes from Samantha. What is the most important thing we can teach our children about how to protect the beautiful Great Barrier Reef? And what is the best thing people can do to get involved? Well, that's an excellent question, Samantha. And I'm a big believer in that the students of today are the decision makers of tomorrow. So one of the most important things that we can do for children these days is to teach them about the Great Barrier Reef, about its beauty and wonder, and most importantly, about the need for its protection. And what can we encourage people to do to look after the Great Barrier Reef? Well, as the backdrop here suggests today, we can encourage everyone to come and see the Great Barrier Reef for themselves, because once you see the Great Barrier Reef and you make that heart connection with that special place, which is the Great Barrier Reef, we know you will fall in love with it. And we know that when you go home, in your schools, your homes, your businesses, that you'll like to do little things to help conserve it for the future. And that might be just from recycling your waste to reducing your energy consumption. But see it, fall in love with it, and then do your little bit to protect it. Jenny asks, hi Fred, what's the biggest threat to the reef and the animals that live on it today? Well, Jenny, the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority produces a report every 5 years known as the Outlook Report. And we produced one in 2019, and undoubtedly the greatest threat to the Great Barrier Reef's future remains climate change. The changing climate is having a significant impact on the Great Barrier Reef. Unfortunately, again this year we saw another mass bleaching event on the Great Barrier Reef. We were fortunate that the cooler months of the winter period came early. We had a little bit of rain, there's a little bit of cyclonic activity out there that drew a little bit of that heat out of the system. And what we're seeing now in most locations, in particular where tourists go to visit the Great Barrier Reef, we're seeing very good levels of recovery on the reef in those locations. But certainly climate change, the biggest threat to the Great Barrier Reef's future. Also water quality impacts, so the quality of water flowing from the land out into the Great Barrier Reef does cause some significant issues for the reef health. Great work being done by farmers and communities to improve the water quality leaving the land, going out to the reef. Coastal development, they're sort of tied together, coastal development and water quality, and some remaining impacts of illegal fishing on the Great Barrier Reef. So the marine park is divided up into areas where people can go and fish. Almost 70% of the marine park is open to fishing, but there are still a few people that don't do the right thing and fish in places where they shouldn't be. So illegal fishing is also an issue, but definitely climate change, the biggest threat to the Great Barrier Reef's future. The third question today comes from Adam, and Adam says, hi Fred. It's nice everyone introduce themselves and say g'day as part of their question. We love your focus on reef education. Thanks, Adam. And we're interested to know what proportion of Queensland school children visit the Great Barrier Reef for a school excursion each year. My tongue-in-cheek answer to that, Adam, is not enough. Not enough children get the opportunity to go and visit the Great Barrier Reef, to see it, to fall in love with it, and then want to do their little bit to protect it. And as I said, the students of today are the decision makers of tomorrow. So what I could say is that we should be always looking for ways in which we can encourage or enable students to go and experience the Great Barrier Reef firsthand. And that's students of all ages, because the tourism operations that take people to the Great Barrier Reef, particularly the high standard tourism operations, provide opportunities for people of all ages and abilities to experience the Great Barrier Reef, fall in love with it, and experience it whilst out on the Great Barrier Reef every single day. Matt asked a question about a program that's quite dear to my heart, and it's the Reef Guardian program. What is the Reef Guardian program, and what do schools need to do to get involved? It's an excellent question, Matt, and the Reef Guardian Schools program started back in 2003, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the team that was part of that program's establishment back in 2003, and we started with 15 trial pilot schools at that time. The program has since grown to include approximately 200 schools from the far north in Cooktown all the way down to the southern section of the Marine Park in Bundaberg. About 200 schools and just over 200,000 students and teachers being part of the program. And we have had interest from schools not only across Australia but from all around the world that wanted to be Reef Guardian schools, and we've always encouraged those schools. Whilst we can't physically come to visit them, we certainly can come these days using our virtual outreach education programs. But we've always encouraged those schools to adopt the foundational pillars, which is what we ask Reef Guardian schools to focus on. And those foundational pillars are committing to learning about the Great Barrier Reef in their classrooms, and teaching about the Great Barrier Reef in their curriculum frameworks. So learning and teaching about the Great Barrier Reef, doing their bit at their schools to conserve water, waste and energy, so conserving their resources in their school environment in particular, and in particular water, waste and energy. We asked them also to participate in an on-ground project, whether it be inside the school grounds itself or in their local community, participate in an on-ground school project that helps to protect the Great Barrier Reef. Now that could be from a clean-up day down at their local beach to a local revegetation day, working with a local group to plant some trees near their local river system, all sorts of different types of activities. I know lots of schools now work very closely with, for example, their local council, their local governing body that looks after their area, and do all sorts of activities from water quality monitoring to tree planting to cleanups, a myriad of activities students get involved in as part of that initiative. And the last piece, and probably the most important piece, is to share their learnings and knowledge and understanding with others, both within their school communities and through their school communities more broadly. Share what they've learned about the Great Barrier Reef. Share what they've found out about the Great Barrier Reef, what makes it so special, and share with others the activities they've been involved in to help to protect the Great Barrier Reef, and hopefully through that sharing, encouraging others to also do the same. And if you'd like to find out more about the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority's Reef Guardian School program, just please drop us a line, contact us at the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, and a member of the education team would be more than happy to talk you through what it means to be a Reef Guardian school. Nicole asks, hi Fred, I've heard you've done some work with Jonathan Thurston. Now, for those of you that are tuning in from other parts of the world, Jonathan Thurston is a bit of a sporting legend here in Australia, and he was a rugby league player and has recently retired, but has set up an academy for young Indigenous people in particular, because Jonathan is a proud Aboriginal man, and he set up the JT Academy. And during these very trying times of the COVID-19 pandemic, Jonathan has been working very, very hard to establish a virtual network for remote Indigenous communities, so children in those remote Indigenous communities didn't become disconnected during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we, through our outreach education program, welcome the opportunity to partner with Jonathan and the Jonathan Thurston Academy through our outreach education program, where we've been delivering a number of live presentations. Actually, part of the team put a scuba diver, goes into our tank at our National Education Centre, Reef HQ, live presentation from underwater. You say the students are speaking live to a scuba diver, learning about the Great Barrier Reef and learning from one another at the same time. So yes, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with Jonathan Thurston and the Jonathan Thurston Academy. And the last question for today comes from, I'm presuming, a young lady, Ocean Girl, 1985, and Ocean Girl asked about a new species of walking sharks found. So I'm not a shark expert, but what I have been able to find out that recently discovered 4 new species of walking shark. They belong, or they have been grouped with the epaulet sharks. These are the sharks that use their pectoral fins for crawling or walking along the ocean floor. And these 4 new walking shark species were found in the coastal waters in northern Australia and Papua New Guinea. And they belong to that epaulet shark grouping of sharks. Typically they're less than 1 metre in length in average, and they feed on small fish and invertebrates. And those 4 new species now brings the total number of walking shark species known to science to 9. So I hope that's been a little bit informative for you, Ocean Girl. But ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the end of the Q&A session today. It's been wonderful connecting with you. Hopefully my answers to your questions have been informative for you. And remember, once again, make sure you go and see the Great Barrier Reef, fall in love with the Great Barrier Reef, and then go and do your little bit to protect it. Thanks everyone. See you later. Bye.